Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Nikki Bostwick Unfiltered Podcast. I'm your host, Nikki, of course, and today we have Reed Davis on. He is a board-certified holistic health practitioner, a certified nutritional therapist. He's an expert in functional lab testing and holistic lifestyle medicine, and the founder of Functional Diagnostic Nutrition and the FDN certification course with over 4,000 graduates in 50 countries. He served as a health director at a wellness center in Southern California for over 10 years with over 10,000 clients. And he's known as one of the most experienced clinicians in his field. I could go on, but Reed, it's so wonderful to have you on with us today.
Well, thanks so much for having me here. Hope we could do some good today.
Yes, I can't wait. I think there's just so much when it comes to our healthcare system today. And I would say most Americans would agree that our testing, like when you go to a standard doctor, they're not really measuring things the same way as someone who's going to a functional health doctor. And so it's really exciting to talk to you when you're someone who's looked at these labs and is an expert in this and can see where we're getting it wrong, basically. I think there are a lot of people with unanswered questions, and some people are curious enough to find their way and become their own best advocate and find people such as yourself, while other people are just completely lost and they're hoping to be guided by professionals that also don't know the answers. Like, I am just such an advocate of holistic medicine and functional health. And I think just what happens sometimes is that you just can't reach that many people with it because it's not something that's covered. So I think the more people have access to it, the better, and the more accessible it should be and will be. So I want to start with just your your number one, just what you've seen, number one, that comes up with all of these tests that you've seen. I know metabolic health is quickly becoming a huge topic. So tell us a little bit about what you see as the main cause of the chronic disease epidemic that we're seeing in our country, and what are the root causes of these illnesses that we're seeing?
It's a great big topic, and to put it into one word or one cause is a bit tough. But 25 years ago, I started studying stress and its effects on health. And I could say that worldwide and here in the United States and any community you want to, in any individual person, that they better get a handle on stress and the different types of stress, because it affects everything in your body. And it doesn't matter what type it is, it's going to affect it negatively. So there's such a thing as good stress, but they call it eustress. But most of us have forms of distress in our lives, whether it be mental, emotional, which I know you're an expert on, that kind of a thing. But there's also physical stress. Me personally, have been a very avid sports enthusiast, and I've just hurt myself so many times, from kickboxing to jujitsu to skiing to surfing to, all of these different types of things. So I have physical aches and pains, which is a form of stress on the nervous system, on your hormones, on your immune system, and all the things. And other people, it is the mental, emotional. They don't like their jobs or their kids or something, And so, but then there's also the chemical stressors. Now, this could be the biggest, believe it or not, bigger than all of that. You don't like your job and you hurt yourself 10 years ago in a car accident and you haven't resolved. Those are stressful things. But the environment is, I've heard one doctor call it, we're swimming in a toxic soup, or I think he says marinating. So it just, the number of chemicals in the environment, in our food, in our air, in our water is kind of atrocious. I even this morning, I've already done a webinar today, and we talked about the number of gallons. It's not measured in gallons, it's measured in drums, like 55-gallon drums per person being dumped into the environment that we're eating and breathing and drinking. And Some people might be smoking it, for gosh sake, you never know. But um, these things. So, by the way, before I was in the health space, my background includes environmental law. That's what I studied in the early, when I went back to school, was environmental law, became a paralegal. I worked in the environmental and conservation space. I was saving the whole planet for years. And then you see enough dead birds and bees and trees, and you start to go, well, what about people? So in the late 90s, I switched jobs. I went to work in a clinic in San Diego, and it was just an amazing, eye-opening experience, going from, again, birds, bees, water, trees, and to people, including myself. I changed jobs because I was really healthy, I thought. I'd had some spills, motorcycle and different things, but never really been to a doctor.
For people who are listening, like right before, I was like, what do you think about RFK? That's kind of what happened to him. He started cleaning up the environment and realizing, okay, there's all these heavy metals. And then women just started flocking over to him, moms saying, well, what about the heavy metals in all these vaccines? So it's all in our environment, or it's all things these chemicals that we're being exposed to, not realizing it because our government officials are telling us it's safe.
Oh, yeah, safe and effective.
Yes, safe and effective. It's like constant, safe and effective, safe. And even right now, as a woman, I'm voting for Trump, and people are up in arms about me not caring about women's health. And I'm like, no, I care so deeply about women's health and maternal mental health and just in general but people only see like one thing synonymous with that, whereas it's a whole holistic paradigm. I mean, talking about like comorbidities when it comes to women dying from these pregnancies, like what is actually going on here? Why are we not having a conversation about what else is going on with women's health that's causing infertility, that's causing women to miscarry and not have healthy pregnancies? There's like so much. So I want to kind of dig into all that with you.
Yeah, I'm not an expert in everything, but I
Yeah.
have run probably more laboratory work than most five practitioners put together, because it's what I do and it's what I've been doing since the late 90s. And I had amazing mentorship over all of these years, and also made a lot of my own observations when you've done a certain volume of work. So I'm in perfect alignment with RFK on the environment, the damage it's caused, and the inability or unwillingness of those who are supposed to be protecting us from doing so. Matter of fact, it often seems like they're complicit in the poisoning of our children and ourselves and our air and our water and our things. Now, it's gotten better since I started studying environment back in a long time ago, but it was in the 70s that some laws were passed to protect the air and water things, and there's places that have been cleaned up. So I just want to give a quick nod to that. It's better in terms of water, like Lake Erie. I used to live on Lake Erie. Now I live in San Diego for the last 40 years, but the Cuyahoga River in Ohio caught on fire in the 60s because it was so polluted. The river caught on fire, and that was flowing into a lake that was considered dead, Lake Erie. And now, matter of fact, I just bought fish in the market where I go that's from Lake Erie. It's walleye. It's now the walleye capital of the world because there has been some amazing work done. I would call them right now old hippie lawyers.
Yeah.
Sued the government and the military a lot back in the 70s. And so we've done some amazing things. But of course, there's still so much to do, and it's become more hidden, more sneaky. Rivers aren't catching in fire anymore because that's too, acute and blatant and unacceptable. But it's will sneak up on you in a minute if you aren't educated and aware and self-aware and paying attention to some things. So like you said, the conversation must continue not like just how bad is it, but what can we do about it? And it
Yes.
will take people like you, me, and our the cohort that we're in to do education and keep it going.
So
So
in
good on
your,
you.
thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I'm excited to just learn more about what you've witnessed through all of these labs that you've seen. And one thing that I love that you said, yes, stress and like the environment, because I feel like that's really come up for me a lot too, where it's like the environment also causes stress on our bodies, like what you're saying too, but then there's the other stress. So what types of things are you seeing that are like, how is it affecting? Like, for example, for me, I feel like I'm under a lot of stress right now in my life. There's so many things happening. And I haven't changed my diet much. I feel like I have more animal products, more so than I used to, good quality ones, obviously. And my iron and my ferritin and my blood cell count are just so low. And that's just one example that I've seen that, I mean, I'm working with a wonderful functional medicine doctor as well. But he and a lot of people I've heard like stress can cause this to happen.
I've seen it. I've seen it again in 19 in no in I started in the office in 1999, but in 2021 had been working there. But I read this article in a book that was on our waiting room table on science and health, and it said the stress was the number one cause of 80% of doctor visits, and that was 25 years ago almost, and then it was 50% of all disease. Stress.
Wow.
Now, so I started studying stress and breaking it down. And I started running the laboratory tests that we can each use to examine ourselves and what effect has stress had on us. So there's all these different stressors, and we don't need to go into all of it. But basically, stress causes what's called a catabolic condition. Your body starts breaking down, and it does, and you can measure it. Cortisol versus DHEA, the balance of anabolic and catabolic hormones. This can be measured. And from there, you can look at a downward spiral. Then what happens? And then what happens? And then what happens? Because stress is unmitigated. Some people don't even know they're under stress. And they're under tremendous stress. People who walk around in pain don't realize that's a stress. Oh, it's just pain. I've been like that. Man, I'm a tough guy. I grew up hunting and fishing and all the things. So you just shut up and you bear it. But that's not smart. It's not smart. And then the stress of driving through traffic every day, and you don't like your job, and you have no purpose in your life, and all these. That's stressful, and it throws the catabolic anabolic off. So it doesn't matter to me. I've had all these injuries in sports and things. So walking around that pain, it throws you out of balance. Having, if you're unhappy, whether it's money or kids or relationships or jobs, or you just don't watch TV because that's really going to mess you up.
Yeah.
So you get out of balance. Now some of it's fascinating and you can't help it. I get that, but you get out of balance. Now the other thing is the environment and those kinds of stressors, and it's everything you're putting in your mouth or breathing or drinking. You got to check it out, because in this country, the manufacturers and producers are allowed to put stuff in our food that's not good for you, and it will again throw you out of balance. Your body thinks it's under attack, and it is essentially. And the chips, the dominoes begin to fall. Now, ask any woman, especially men are becoming more aware, but they still care more about their cars than their own health. Keep the car running. Like that's a good thing. But stress, the next domino to fall when the stress hormones go out of balance, you're in a catabolic state basically, or dominance, is the sex hormones. Your estrogen, your progesterone, your testosterone, they go out of balance. And you know what those symptoms are like. You mentioned a few, the things going on with women, whether it be around their menstruation and early menopause and infertility and just this crazy stuff. So stress, whether it be chemical or whatever. The next sort of domino to fall. It's stress hormones, sex hormones, which you have a lot of symptoms from, and then it's the immune system. It actually affects what's called secretory IgA. Now I could show you on paper, because this is all the labs that we run, how the dominoes are falling. When your SIG-A, we call it, secretory IgA, goes down, it means, and where's most of your immune system? You know this, right? Where is it? It's in the gut. So the
Yeah.
lining of the gut gets weak. It can't protect you like it was before. And so you get a dysbiosis, an imbalance. You hear about taking probiotics. Now, I don't want to bore people or go over this stuff, but you can see these dominoes fall. And it's remarkable how bad it can get. And oh, by the way, this is not a surprise to you. You could go to your physician in today's modern Western world feeling like crap with multiple symptoms, just whether it be, vague or not, and be told everything's okay. Have you ever heard that before?
Oh, yeah.
You're fine. It's like your blood work looks normal. It's just take a chill pill or, you know, day off,
Maybe
whatever.
that's their way. That's the only way. Take a chill pill, I guess, is right.
Yeah.
But really not. But
Well,
they
the
don't know
downward
it.
the
Yeah.
downward spiral hasn't gotten bad enough yet to be considered clinical, like where
Yeah,
here's
I
your
know.
diagnosis and here's your treatment, which, oh, by the way, doesn't fix the problem. It only treats the symptom.
Masks it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was put on Adderall. Turns out I didn't, like, I had chronic fatigue and I had so many other issues. My thyroid was off, but they put me on Adderall. And so I was on speed, and like essentially it was like meth, right?
Yes.
Instead. So then once I got off of it and I got off the birth control pills was when I really could actually solve my problems because I knew what my symptoms were. And I mean, it was just like,
Yes.
it was
I
ridiculous.
feel you. And it's unfortunate that that's the first answer is, get the pad out and write something. Me, I just have these. I don't have a prescription pad. But I'll tell you, when I was working in the clinic over 20 years ago, and a lady was coming in and she was getting good results with just running some labs, changing her lifestyle. Mostly, if you lived yourself into a problem with the environment and everything, and you can live yourself out of it. That is our fundamental understanding. The body wants to be healthy. It's every cell knows what its job is. No one has to teach cells what to do. They know. They have an innate intelligence. But this lady was coming in and she was doing pretty well. And she said, Reed, do you work with kids? And I said, well, yeah, I'm raising 4 kids and I've coached a football team for 15 years. I work with a lot of kids. Why? She goes, well, they want to send my boy home from school if I don't put him on the drug of the choice back then was Ritalin. And now Ritalin is a class 2 narcotic. It's the same class as cocaine. So someone at school was telling her, put your kid on Ritalin or we're kicking him out. And I said, well, do you think he has a Ritalin deficiency? And you laughed, but she didn't laugh. I was hoping that and she said, no, I don't want to put my son on drugs. Can you help him or not? I said, well, I don't know. Just chill for a sec, like let's figure it out. Who said that he needs Ritalin? Is there a doctor at the school or is there a nurse there at least? No, this was just the teacher and the principal
Oh
had
my
conspired
God.
to tell this lady, put him on Ritalin or get what they wanted was behavior. It's not
Yeah.
caring about the child. It's not their welfare, well-being, or anything. It's behavior. It's just trying to impose behavior. Now, I said, well, I don't know, let's do some labs. Now, this is over 20 years ago, so I was still learning, and we're always learning. I'm still learning today, of course, but you get it. So sent home with some kids, got some lab work done, changed some things in the boy's life, of course, lifestyle and different factors. I'll tell you about it as much detail as you want. But here's the bottom line: within 3 weeks, Nikki, I got a call from the school principal. He tracked me down through the mom. He goes, Mr. Davis, I don't know what you've done here with Billy, but he's a different child. He's paying attention. He doesn't
Oh,
outburst loudly in school. He's not poking the other kids. He's actually become kind of a model student. And now the whole time I'm kind of like giddy with, a little pride mixed with joy, mixed with, just that pat on the back that you need
yeah.
to keep going emotionally and things like that. And then he goes, "What'd you put him on?" And it just deflated that balloon, like,
Yeah.
oh man, I just felt like that's the mentality. That's how they look at things. Those guys. He's the principal that prescribed, a class 2 narcotic for a 9-year-old.
It's
And I
horrible.
said, well, we put him on a better schedule, bedtime, better diet, better exercise. But we put him on that. We ran some labs, and all he wanted to know was, what's the magic thing in a
Yeah.
bottle, or forget it.
And also,
Yeah, so that's an experience that never left me, and I have so many stories like that from those days in the clinic when I was discovering these patterns, and happy to talk about that as much as you want. But I
well,
tell
I
that we would get along very well. That you know you have to look for underlying causes, conditions, the environment, in a sense. This is called epigenetics. You know that the term
yeah,
is, it's not your genetics, who your parents were. You can't change that. Never change who your parents were, but you can change how the expression of genes, and that's epigenetics, and that's what we do.
I love it. And that's a beautiful story. We have a lot of parents actually putting their kids on saffron because it helps calm the nervous system. And it's been proven to be as supportive in double blind placebo studies as Ritalin. But it just works in the complete opposite way, right? And it just helps you calm down so you can focus. But to your point, it's just they just want something because what they want is, like you said, behavior conformity to
Yeah,
just do what we say. And but I love what you said about the schedule too, because just like adults and as like we're not that different from children, we're just not realizing that we too need schedules. We too need this framework to help us with our nervous system and staying calm and having a less stressful life. And I think just seeing it firsthand as a parent is really beautiful because you can see
yeah,
that rhythm, what we call it, with like my kids go to have a Waldorf homeschool teacher and they have this rhythm and they do this and it helps them feel secure and it provides all these things. And we're not that different as adults. But I am super interested to talk about, you've looked at all these labs. What are like some of the most, that's a success story that's really exciting. Like, what are success stories or just miracle stories that you've seen from seeing someone's lab and seeing things change? Because I think what's really incredible about our line of work and what you're doing is really seeing how chronic disease can reverse, because we've been told over and over again that it's not reversible and that people need to be on medication for the rest of their life, whether it's thyroid medication or even antidepressants. Yes, they're kind of sold as this like little small fix for this period of time, but really they destroy your body and can like lead to um, a lifelong need for it. So I don't buy into that, but for most people,
okay.
it turns into that. So what are, even like with diabetes, we're told that it's not able to be reversed. And I've even talked to physicians believing that it can. And I think that's a really extreme position too to most people. So I'm just curious, like, what have you witnessed? Because I think that's
A
exciting
lot.
and
Yeah,
expensive.
I think for part of what I do is take the 60,000 foot view. I try to view things. You can zoom in, and it's amazing the amount of data that's available as you zoom in to an individual or some part of their body and things like that. But zooming out is often more um, instructive, So um, the idea of making these observations, it's really important to not for me, in what I do and what I teach, having run thousands of labs on thousands of people, it's to recognize the patterns. So I could tell you about the boy with ADD, ADHD, or the lady with migraines, or whatever it might be. But it's so everything I was doing in the office led to recognizing patterns that are the same no matter, like when I say stress is the root of all evil. No, I mean that because I've seen the test results, thousands and thousands, that you can track things upstream. You've heard, of course, and you'll hear this in the medical space now, that it's gut. Oh, the gut. Even Hippocrates said the gut is the root of all, like the root of all disease begins in the gut. No, but it circles around to it so often that it seems that way. People show up. Remember I said it's stress, catabolic, anabolic hormones, then the sex hormones, then the immune system, then the gut. You get the dysbiosis, which just gets snowballs from there, and you end up with, leaky gut and congested liver and detoxification problems. And I could literally show you on a chart that we have what the lab work is, how to track it, and sort of where you are in that cycle, and how to reverse it. So reversing it, to your point, is the key. And I'll just give you a quick example, another one, if it's okay. So this lady's coming in the office. Remember, now I was looking for patterns. I'm not so proud of these so-called miracles and things, but they're fun to revisit, and they're very heartwarming for me, as I recall. What kept me going back then, when I was sorting this stuff out, was she was in for about her 7th or 8th visit. We had a chiropractor who actually owned the clinic where I worked, and she did amazing work. And this lady seen her for pain in the neck and different things, and I'm walking her back, and I knew her, from triaging and things. Hey, what's going on? You look really sad today. Oh, Reed, it's this weight. I'm 40 pounds overweight, and it's just really frustrating me. And me, I'm the happy guy. Like, I wake up happy. So I'm going, well, what are we going to do about it? Oh, no, she wasn't having it that day, man. She's just, no, it's this weight. It's horrible. And I've tried everything. And it's because I'm on this medication for the hives, blotchy skin. I'm on this and it makes me gain weight. And I've been on it for 2 years, and I've gained 40 pounds, and I'm just hating it. And there's nothing I can do about it, because I know there's something you could do about it, but I couldn't get a word in, and I'm just, and she's like, I'm walking her back to the treatment room. And in our office, I did myofascial therapy, and we would do that, trigger points, in a heat pack. And then the chiropractor would come in and adjust, and they'd go off. So this day, she just really wanted to get it out. And she says, Reed, I went to the icing on the cake. She'd just been to the doctor for a checkup. She said, Doctor, I'm so frustrated with this weight from taking this medication for my hives. And I just can't hardly stand it. And he said, well, lady, this is according to her, you can be fat, or you can have the hives. Take your pick. And she said, well, that's very depressing. And he said, I'll be happy to write your prescription for antidepressants.
Oh my gosh.
Now that happened in my office for real. It's one of just like that boy, there's just certain things that happen. And so when I said to her, finally she was done. And I said, first name, what about trying to find out why you get the hives? Something you would have thought of, and most of your listeners, I'm sure, would knew where this was leading to. And her head snapped around so hard that I thought she wouldn't need her chiropractic adjustment that day. She's just like, what? It's like, and I said, yeah, I'm not sure, but, we could look at least. And fast forwarding, obviously, it's always like 2-3 weeks down the road after you've run the labs and got the results and explain what they need to do. It's always about what they need to do. What would give them reasonable chance of, to your point, the question was about how do you reverse this stuff? So just down the road a little bit, she says, Reed, I called my doctor the other day and told him I'm off the medication because I found out why I get the hives. duh, what a concept. And then another little bit later, she's taking hot showers and working out to a sweat. I didn't know this, but she told me, I haven't done that in 2 years because even on the meds, I got the hives. Worked out to a sweat and taking a hot shower. 2 years. And wow, this is life changing. And again, this is where to this day, I get the willies, of like, wow, we can really make changes in people's lives, and you feel so good. The emotional freedom that comes from that knowing you can do good, and that this is possible, and that the answer isn't, um, the white prescription pad, not that pink one there.
Yeah.
And by the way, I used to have these in the office before I knew what I was doing, and I'd be writing down what they could get at the grocery store just to kind of get through the day or week or month, whatever it was. Just looking for the alternative that was safe and effective.
Yeah, I know. We say that all the time with our
Variably effective, but at least safe.
Mhm.
The stuff that we do instead. And so just, I think the answer of can you reverse this stuff? You ought to at least try. You can't go through life just I guess I've got fibromyalgia. I guess I'll just take this medication for the rest of my life and gain 50 pounds and have no energy and life, other than chasing that diagnosis. So that 10 years recognized these patterns and their hormone, immune, digestion, detoxification, energy production, nervous system. That spells hidden, HIDDEN. Hormone, immune, digestion, detoxification, energy production, nervous system. And they're hidden, and no one's even looking for the stuff half the time. So it was kind of cute that it came out that way. It took me sort of a few years to sort that out. And then when people start coming, I go, well, we're going to look for the hidden stressors. I don't care what your diagnosis was. That's just a name someone gave something so that they could fill in the blanks and get paid by the insurance companies.
Exactly.
And so it was just a different life and different world. And then after 10 years of that, they started sort of making me teach. And that's how we got to where we have all the patterns, all of the solutions, which are lifestyle based. They call it lifestyle medicine. That's fine. Led to what I do today.
And who are you teaching right now?
Well, we'll take on all comers because some people just want to work on themselves. Most are professionals with a college degree and a certificate or two in some health related topic. So they could be a person with a degree in human biology and they've got a certificate in nutrition, fitness training, body work, something along those lines. Then they come to us because they want to really get into it and up level. But others are already professional licensed practitioners who just are sick of the cycle of trial and error, I call it. Especially nurses and these type of clinicians who aren't so dependent financially on the shit show that is modern medicine, the mill.
The MLM, it's like MLM marketing is what I keep saying. They fund the schools. It's even worse than MLM because they make you pay to go to the school that they fund to train you on pushing their pills. Like you have to pay for that. It's crazy.
So I agree with you, and yet the future is open to what we make it, and we have to believe that. I get up every day with that thought that
I love it. I love how happy and optimistic you are. Like I think it's so necessary, and I mean I feel that way right now with how many people are.
Well, tell me some of your experiences. What have you seen occur that's miraculous?
Well, no, I feel like, I mean, I don't know. I live in Orange County, so I'm in Southern California as well. But I would say, we're a really health focused community of people and people are curious. And I think it's exciting to see people curious and want solutions and looking at individualized care versus protocols that are just, provided to their healthcare practitioners. And I think personalized care is so important, but it's not accessible. And so seeing the rest of the country come together and like people coming together to realize, our healthcare system is not where it should be. There's so many facts pointing to like, why are we obese? Why is 73% of our children not able to join the military because they have some sort of condition that would prevent them? I mean, that's crazy. Not that they should join the military when they're old enough. And, I don't want that for my children, but I think it's just a factor in proving like, I remember learning that when I was younger, like they don't take kids that are on Ritalin in the military. That's not, and now you have kids that are just being put on it left and right from the schools, being told that they have ADD, ADHD, and to some extent, yes, but it, like you said, it's lifestyle. It's there's so much more that go into it. But I would say, when it's so detrimental when we're trying to get people healthy by just putting them on Ozempic, and that's so sad. And at the same time, that coming up has also woken others up to, okay, this is just, it's gone too far. Why are we putting kids on Ozempic right now? This should not be happening. Our children, we need to save our children from this chaos of this medical industrial complex that we've created. And so I think it's exciting. And I think that the next thing would be having insurance cover this type of care, because it's currently not covered. And that's why it just like so sad when I talk about it and when I share this information. I'm very privileged to have access to all this. So I'm really passionate about bringing this to as many people as possible. And I think that next step is getting the government involved. And I think I would say, regardless if someone's Republican or Democrat, at the end of the day, I feel that humans, and this is, here in the United States, but everyone, we all want the same things. We just don't know necessarily how to get there. And we believe that the people that we think should be in power are the ones that are going to get us there. And that's what's so beautiful about a democracy. But I also think that if we were to just open our eyes to just seeing that at the end of the day, like if we all just want quality of life, we can create the possibility by coming together. And that's what you're doing. You're training all of these people. I mean, 4,000 people.
Not enough, but yeah.
That's huge. And those people are going to go on
40
people.
Yeah.
And that's where it begins. It's like, on one hand, it's like, you want the government to get involved on some capacity to help. But at the same time, it starts at this level with people like you that are showing what's possible. And then it gets there. It's like, look at what I've done. Look at what I've seen. Look at what we've proven is possible. And I've seen that even with the environment. I have a friend who started this nonprofit called Non-Toxic Neighborhoods, and she started it in Irvine.
Wow.
And her father was in the baseball world, I guess. And she lived in a different country that happened to ban glyphosate. And she came back to Irvine, and her kids were playing baseball, and she saw them spraying and she just started crying. She was devastated because she realized, like, I have to choose between baseball, that's so important to my family, or, my kids' health. And I don't want that. So she single-handedly convinced, it started with just her, convinced the city of Irvine to adopt organic practices and stop spraying glyphosate. And from there, all these other cities in Orange County and beyond have adopted this model that she proved was possible. And like Laguna is now incorporating it. Where I'm in Laguna Beach, Malibu, New York, it's other countries. I mean, it's grown so much. It's called Non-Toxic Neighborhoods. And every time I think about it, I'm like, anything's possible. And like what you're doing, it's possible and it's beautiful. And so that's what keeps me going and hopeful. And I can be really, really critical, but I think sometimes you kind of need to break things down in order to put them together and stay hopeful.
Yeah, no pity parties here. We know how bad things can get. Well, I'm with you 100%. We can make America healthy again, and that the government should have a role in that. And at the same time, it's self awareness,
Yes,
consciousness that will be the driver. The government's supposed to work for us, and we're not supposed to
exactly.
be afraid of it. If anything, it should be afraid of us, the
Yeah.
people. And so I say that with conviction that it will take continuous. It's why I do interviews, and I'll do as many as it takes. I have. Uh, I would like to say I have nothing else to do, but the truth is, I work hard. And I start really early, and I've already done a webinar today, and a meeting with my top staff and things. I have 50 employees. So we're a part of a movement, and I could, just really love to talk to you again sometime about some of the details and the things going on that people can do. Remember, it takes self awareness. So the first thing you have to say is, who's responsible for your health? It ain't the government. There's no daddy there that's going to save anybody from anything. Truly, I mean, maybe the worst cases and stuff. I believe in charity. I do lots of charity work, and I have my favorites. But the idea of people just saying, who's responsible for my health? Me. Back in the day, and I don't know how much time we have or anything like that,
No,
but
I
but,
really want to make sure yeah, tell us the story and I
well,
want to make sure.
the whole thing, when I went from environmental law, I was saving the planet. We did a lot of cleaning up of things, and I ride motorcycles, so I love a clean environment. I also grew up hunting and fishing in Canada, so I love a clean environment and that. But as I said earlier, you see enough dead flora and fauna, and you start worrying about people. So I just changed jobs. I went into where my son was a high school athlete, and which is another thing I wanted to note quickly, is that you and I are different generations, but we have the exact same point of view about self-reliance and independence and freedom and things like. And that's what's so cool about you and the people like you, that they aren't all just sheep marching in
Yeah.
stuff. So it's really important. And the thing that occurred to me, I've been working at the clinic for a short period of time, and I'm out riding my bike in Southern California, and you know how it is here, the hills and the open roads and things. It's very, you just, for a freedom lover, it's exhilarating to be out there. And what kept haunting me though? It was the people at the clinic. And I kept thinking, what the hell? They've been to 6, 8, 10 practitioners, and they aren't better yet. Remember, I hadn't been to a doctor for anything other than a
Yeah.
bone, so I didn't know what it was like. And I go, what do you mean you've been to 6, 8, 10 practitioners and you're not better? That's a ripoff. And I probably used an explicative in there somewhere, ripoff. That's a
Yes.
freaking ripoff, number one. But number two, to the point I was trying to make, why are they putting their health in someone else's hands in the first place?
Yeah.
It's like, can't you read a book or do something? And I thought, and and so, and then also, I'll just finish that thought with this: that crazy that I am, I decided I was going to be the last person they needed to see.
Oh, I love
That's
that.
what led to me running thousands of labs on thousands of people, and dedicating myself, and all of the observations I made, along with, again, great mentorship. The real OGs, because they call me OG, I thought it meant old geezer, you know, I don't know what they're talking about. But the real original gangsters was the guys that I learned from. Some aren't around anymore, who started their own laboratories, and they knew back then, alternative medicine. My dad thought it was voodoo,
Yeah.
doing there. And now it became, complementary, because guess what? It works. And sort of regular doctors were starting to open up a little bit. Then complementary became integrative, because now what? Guess what? The consumer's demanding it. from
Mm-hmm.
their regular physician. Hey, how come I can't get this here or that? So they're like they're market followers. And I'll say this, maybe even to close, is that functional medicine, thank goodness, has come along, but it still hasn't gone. It is not finished evolving. So alternative, complementary, integrative, functional, and lifestyle medicine things, they still are very much bound, handcuffed to the diagnosis and treatment model,
Mm-hmm.
which is something RFK talks about, like just and he's not a doctor either. Um, it's what's really wrong, and how do you fix it? How do you empty a bathtub if the water's still running? You can't, because that means the environment where we need to change things is at a very high level. But working with people face to face became the passion of my life, and now I train others to do that because we actually figured a few things out, not everything, but and it's pretty exciting that we can make America healthy again and the planet. Let's not forget those other countries.
Yeah. Can people still see you? Are you still seeing patients, or do
No,
you?
I have an army of those that I've trained
Yeah.
and there's a place they can go. Matter of fact, we made up a URL for you. You can put it in your show notes. It's fdntraining.com/unfiltered.
Okay.
So
Cool.
if people want to go there, they
slash unfiltered.
yeah, well, we'll connect. But yeah, so we made it up for you and your listeners so they could go there and just see. If it starts with that, yes, I want to do something and I'm willing to take responsibility for it.
I
If you got
completely.
that, if you just think that, if nothing else, and for your children,
Hmm.
and anyone else you happen to care about.
That's awesome. I'm so excited. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us today. We'll
Yeah.
definitely have to chat soon again, and we'll
Good,
have some
Nikki. You're doing
conversation.
amazing work. I did look at some of your other podcast recordings and things like that. And you have fascinating guests, really good people, all with the intention to be helpful, to contribute. And that's a wonderful thing.
Thank you so much. So wonderful meeting you.